Good afternoon, viewers. We are embarking on what is sure to be an extraordinary journey.
Huffing and puffing journey.
We're huffing and puffing already, and we're 3 blocks in. It's not a very good sign.
So Clint and I are training.
Training? No, we're definitely training. It's not in air quotes. It's no joke.
Because in about 2 months' time, month and a half, we're going to be hiking Volcano Misti. Welcome back. As you can tell, we're gonna hike a volcano.
It's true. Not a big deal.
So we thought we'd kind of do like our pre-video, and then we'll also have a video of the actual thing. So
Expectation versus reality.
right.
All right.
But we'll give you a little bit of background information first. So we'll be hiking Misti Volcano, which is behind us, but you probably can't see it.
Yeah. So Misti's a pretty popular hike in the area, and Arequipa, the city that we live in, is a pretty good waypoint for acclimating yourself to the altitude and then making the hike. And many other hikes around in southern Peru, because there's a lot of hiking in Peru to do.
Yep.
So the altitude of Arequipa, the city, is about 2,300 meters, or 8,000 feet. And the altitude of Misti is about 5,800 meters, or 19,100 feet.
So that's like at the very top, at the summit.
That's the very top. That's a difference of 3,500 meters, or 11,100 feet. So it's a big climb.
So Misti is a stratovolcano, and it's like sleeping right now. It's not fully dormant, but the last like big eruption was in 1985, but it's been pretty quiet ever since.
Yep.
So I'm not too worried about that part.
Yeah, there was recently some evacuation drills that were run by the city, but there's no expectation that there's an eruption coming. There's no evidence that there's a eruption that's going to be happening anytime soon.
Right. Best to be prepared, though.
Absolutely.
As you saw at the beginning of the video, we were walking around. Clint and I started, like, training, kinda.
It's real training.
I don't know, I just didn't... I mean, I like walking, so it didn't feel like training. But probably about a month and a half, we, not every day, but a number of times a week, would walk around, and Arequipa's super hilly, so...
It's good training grounds.
Yeah, we're always going up, always.
And at each kind of training session, each hike, we would, or at least I was, adding more weight to my bag. So I was putting in bottles of water, kind of getting myself up to the weight of the supplies that we would be carrying up.
Yeah, and I didn't, so we'll see.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. So we should mention first that there are lots of tour companies here in Arequipa.
Definitely.
And there are 3 different routes that you can hike up the volcano with.
Yep.
So the first one is Aguada Blanca. It's on the northeastern side, which is like directly behind the volcano.
Facing away from the city.
And that's supposed to be like the easier hike. It's not as steep. It's actually a pretty gradual climb. But you need a permit because you're entering like a national reserve or something like that.
Yep.
And then you also need a 4x4 because, like, there's no proper road.
Right. The road that goes there is quite long, and it goes between Chechani and Misti, and it can take between 2.5 to 3 hours over a pretty rough road. So you would need a decent 4x4 to get there.
Yeah.
The second route is Delantera, which is kind of right in the city here, and we can see it best from our vantage point here. It is the closest to the city. It's the easiest route there from the city.
The easiest route to get to.
It's also, from the city. And so we read quite a lot of advisories about safety concerns with that trailhead. And so in recent years, some of the companies have been avoiding this route because there have been robberies and other kind of safety concerns.
Petty theft, really.
Right.
So then the third route is called Grau, and that's the southern route. This is what we're going to do, and we'll talk more about it later. You don't need a permit, and you didn't for Delantera either.
Right.
But it's actually pretty accessible from the city, not as easy as the other.
Right. It's like maybe a 45-minute drive through the city to get there.
Right. And it's, by all accounts, rather safe.
Yep.
So I don't have any qualms about that. Although I do kind of wish we were doing the easier, the first hike.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the last third of the hike is pretty steep.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. So for supplies, we've had to gather a few things we didn't have, and we'll be picking up things that we need as well.
Yeah, it's important to mention that a lot of these supplies you can rent from various companies who do tours in the city here.
Yep. But we got some really good deals, so we just opted for purchasing a few things, and we'll probably use them again.
Definitely.
So we did buy a tent. Yay.
Yay. This tent, we wouldn't recommend getting this particular tent for anyone who wants to be a very serious hiker and use the equipment repeatedly, just as a disclaimer.
But if it lasts just for this hike, it'll pay for itself. It'll still be cheaper than renting. So
probably.
That's fine.
Yep.
We also bought sleeping bags or sleepings.
Yep.
I'm actually kind of excited about that.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Yep.
We also need to buy and make some high-carb food and some snacks to take with us. Yep. So we'll be doing that, and I'm sure you'll see it in the next video, all the food that we ate.
Yep, we'll talk about that in more detail.
And then water. Do you want to talk about water?
Yeah, water is super important. So Arequipa is on the fringe of one of the driest patches of land in the world, and so there's no humidity. You're obviously going to be doing a lot of physical activity, and so water is super, super important. So some of the sources, we got a lot of information from multiple sources, and they recommend bringing 5 to 6 liters of water per person.
Yeah.
So
not and that's for the 2-day.
Correct.
Well, we'll talk more about that, but it's a 2-day hike.
Right. So not only is it dry here and you're doing physical activity, but then the altitude also. So you want to be drinking a lot of water, and they recommended that you probably should consume about 2 liters of water a day minimum.
Yeah.
And then have a little extra in case you're stuck somewhere or something happens.
And drinking more water also helps alleviate altitude sickness.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Obviously at 19,000 feet, that might be a problem.
Yep, and then also layers of clothing. So being from Wisconsin, we know what it takes to stay warm, and layering is probably your best option. Yeah. So pants, many sweatshirts and shirts, long sleeve shirts to go underneath, but also long sleeve shirts because the sun is really intense, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Right.
But there's no protection from the sun on the mountain.
Absolutely crazy.
And for the last several days, it's been crystal clear, and the sun is extremely intense in Arequipa. It's not a joke.
So this isn't something that we need, but there are some times when it snows up on Misti.
Yep.
It hasn't snowed for like a month, maybe. But if you go up there when it's snowing, you'll need gear like ice picks and
crampons.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we won't be dealing with that because
no snow.
We
picked the time of the year specifically to go when it was clear, the sky was clear, and when there isn't as much snowpack on the mountain.
Right. So we're also bringing a ton of SPF.
Right. So speaking of the sun.
Yeah. It's really important because it is at a high altitude. You might not think you need SPF, but you definitely do. I don't care if you're tan or what. Like it doesn't matter. You need it.
Right. It can be dangerous, and if you get sunburn and you get a lot of exposure to the sun, it's just going to tire you out. It's going to make your hike.
Right. And that can induce the altitude sickness as well.
Right.
So just slather it on.
Right. Be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So in preparation for that, not only are we bringing sunscreen, SPF, but also sunglasses and hats to protect us from the sun. So we're a couple very, very weak-skinned people, fair-skinned people, and so we need to have some extra protection. So sunglasses, a hat, long sleeves, those are kind of essential for us.
Right. We also got some hiking boots.
Yep.
Again, you can rent hiking boots if you're just traveling through, so there are plenty of places you can do that. But I'm hoping that we're going to be doing more hiking, so we both got extremely good deals, so I was really happy about that.
There are good deals you can find in the city here, so it's not a bad spot. Compare that to Cusco, where that kind of equipment is at a premium. I think Arequipa is probably a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And also along the lines of altitude sickness, it can be important to bring like an Advil or something for headaches because you will probably get a headache, even if you don't get like full-blown altitude sickness. And then also the locals swear by coca leaves. So it's something that they grow here.
Yep.
They have it in teas and everything, but just grab some leaves at the market and you can like suck on them and chew on them. So I think that's what we'll probably do.
Yep. Absolutely. And then another kind of safety device, if you will, is we're bringing our cell phones, or we have a GPS. And so that's just kind of to keep track of the trail as well.
Extra assurance, yeah. I mean, everything I read says that at least the first trail, so the Aguada Blanca, and then the trail we're taking, Grau, are pretty well marked. So I don't think it should be a problem, but...
That being said, people have gotten lost on the mountain, and that can be dangerous, especially if you spend, a day or more up at altitude. That can be really dangerous. So we're bringing the GPS / our phones, and then also to charge it, we're bringing a solar panel. So we have a small solar panel to keep the phone charged, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yep. So our plan is we're going this weekend.
Yep.
So exciting. If you don't hear from us next week, there's a problem. But we have a really kind friend who, he's not hiking with us, but he's offered to drive us. He has a car.
Yep.
So he'll be driving us to the trailhead, and then we're going to coordinate for him to pick us up as well.
Yep.
Since we're not taking like a guided hike, we're just doing it on our own. Clint's a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
So that's okay, I guess.
Right.
But very nice of our friend Raphael, so thank you.
Absolutely.
And as I kind of mentioned before, it's a 2-day hike.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about the particulars?
Yeah, so we're going to start early. We're going to try to get on the road over to that part of the city by 6 a.m. To be able to be on the trail at 7. Everything we've read says that Summit, if you're at a decent pace, takes between 10 and 13 hours. So that's doable in one day. That's a fair bit of work.
Right.
I don't want to minimize that.
No,
that might not be for everybody.
And also, from what I've read, that's including like breaks. So
You're
from
right.
what I've read at the beginning of the hike, which isn't as extreme, you should be resting every hour, and then after that, like once you get to like the base camp area,
right.
you need to rest like every half hour.
Right. If you are not a really experienced climber / hiker, that might be necessary. In fact, we would recommend it.
Right. I'm definitely going to do that.
Right. So then on the way back, obviously, on the way down, it doesn't take as long. The best estimates we've read are between 5 and 7 hours. We were hoping to get started again at about 7 a.m. the next day, and we will probably finish up right around midday, sometime between noon and 2.
Oh, hello. And the other cool thing, Clint planned this out, so...
I sure did.
Kudos.
Yeah.
But this weekend is a full moon.
Right.
So we're going to be hiking a damn volcano, which, first of all, like, what the hell? But then it's a full moon, so it's going to be really cool.
It'll be really pretty. So full moons, just here in our little apartment, it's bright.
Yeah.
You can easily see the ground. You can easily see what's going on around you. And you can see the mountain during a full moon. You can see all the mountains during a full moon. So the thought is that if we have to hike slightly after the sun goes down, it won't be as dangerous. It won't be pitch dark.
And it'll just be safer in general, because you'll be able to see better, like, if you're moving around in the night, like, when you're at base camp or whatever.
Right. But to be fair, one of my biggest motivations for that is taking pictures. It's going to be a gorgeous night to take some pictures from that vantage point.
Yeah. We are also hiking with a couple of friends.
Yep.
So it's not just the two of us.
Yep.
Safety in numbers and all that.
Of course.
And also, the more the merrier. So,
of course.
So I'm excited to do that.
Yep. So the trail that we're going to be hiking up Grau is also has a base camp at about 4,600 meters or 15,000 feet, which is way up there. And the idea is that you can leave some of your gear there, set up tent, leave some of your gear there, and then summit with a little less weight. And that point in the trail, as far as I can tell from the mapping, is about 2/3 of the way. And so that last third is where it gets a little steep just below the summit. And so it'll be good to kind of have a little bit of weight relief on some of the gear that you'll be carrying going up to the top.
Yep. And that's about all we have planned, I think.
Yeah.
We've
done a fair bit of reading.
Yeah.
We aren't unexperienced hikers, but I wouldn't consider us experts by any means.
No.
But
by all accounts, you don't need to be an expert hiker.
Right.
It's just, I think the biggest thing is the altitude. So I think the highest I have been was around 1,400 feet when we were in Ecuador.
Right.
And I had a little bit of altitude issues at that point. So we've been in Arequipa, though, for obviously like a year now.
Yep.
Whereas when we went to Ecuador, it was like we went from sea level to Quito.
Yeah, we were living in Lima at the time, and so that's sea level. And
right. So I don't know. We'll see, and we'll take you along with us. Yep. So that'll be fun or embarrassing. So
maybe a little of both.
Yeah. But that's about it. So I guess we'll see you in the next video.
Wish us luck.
Yeah. Suerte.